The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello everyone and welcome to the Classy Wolf Studios in Gates, and this is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko and happy to be joined by Stephen Bond. You Recruit Productions.
That's right. Thanks
brand
for having
new
me,
venture.
guys.
We'll give you a second to talk about that. Mike Catalana from 13 WHAM News, co-hosting along with Pat Duffy from the Breakroom.
Hey!
Yeah, nice coat too, by the way. We're glad you brought that back. I understand you've been wearing this all week.
This is, I've all Monday through Friday, yesterday an appearance today, and this will be the key to a Bills win against the Patriots.
All right. Stephen, quickly,
Very
we remember you now, the work you did at Channel 10.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what are you doing now?
A small production company just trying to get it off the ground these days. It's been a fun venture, a little something different, so a little off the air, behind the scenes, behind the camera type deal.
All right, let's talk some baseball. Impressions of the postseason as I see the game metamorphosizing again right in front of our eyes. How do you see it?
Well, it's funny. The way Terry Francona's going to that bullpen is interesting. I like it. The guy's 9-0 in the postseason and World Series games, rather. I can't blame him. Whatever he wants to do at this point, let him do it.
The games are going 3.5 hours at least.
Well, that's the issue with the games. And as good as the games are in terms of the actual play, it's taken too long. Look, we can criticize the NFL, and a lot of us do, about some of the stuff that goes on, but the games really last 3 hours most of the time. They move along pretty quickly. I think that's the thing in baseball, and it's easy to blame TV. It's easy to blame the commercial time, but I think the biggest issue in baseball, and even in these World Series games, too many pitching changes, too many visits to the mound, too much of that time. I do think baseball needs to step into the 21st century, limit some of those things, change the way teams manage a little bit, and I think it'll help the game. In the World Series, it takes a long time, and that's going to happen. Games have always taken a little longer in the playoffs, but it's too long, and you are going to lose a whole generation by doing that.
But that's just it. I mean, for Terry Francona, this is, right now, the most important series of his life.
Right.
You know, you include Boston. You're going to tell a guy who's coaching for absolutely everything, hey, let's speed it up a little bit. You're going to change the rules to a game that is the most steeped in history of the four major sports, right? The reason baseball is so great and baseball fans love baseball so much is it's easy to compare, the Cubs of 2016 to the Cubs of 1908. There's a couple of tweaks, but it was all pretty much the same stuff. You start making rule changes like that. I mean, something as subtle as how long or how many visits can change the way a series goes.
But Pat, when you look back at baseball, back 30, 40, 50 years ago, you didn't have those changes anyhow. It's not like we're all of a sudden saying the rules now, you could have done it back then. Teams carry way more pitchers than they used to and use them all. I mean, we know what it was like. Well, the kids don't know as much.
I want to know if this
But
is gonna
seriously,
work.
you remember what it was like, a starting pitcher. I mean, it was rare when they didn't go 6, 7 innings unless they got shelled. It's a different game now.
We want to know, what is the optimum amount of time these guys can go out there and perform? If it's 5, 6 innings for these starting pitchers, so be it.
I think it's a little like Russian roulette, though. I mean, you got all these guys, you don't know what you're going to get on any given day from the relief corps, and if you just keep throwing the guys out there, eventually one of them is going to get hammered.
Or it didn't work for Bruce Bochy. You remember in that game where he was giving guys like 4 pitches and pulling them out. He couldn't find anybody, but you could also argue not a single pitcher on his staff could get any rhythm going in those games. So, it's a combination of what, to Pat's point about what Terry Francona's doing. Well, he's doing what it takes now to win. Make every pitching change, do whatever. I'm talking also about the long-term future of the game, and I think it needs to be truncated a little bit to make it a little quicker pace.
And the last thing, what do you think the New York Yankees are thinking of the World Series when you see Chapman and Miller out there doing what they're doing?
It's just painful. I know that the Yankees had a great end of their regular season. There's a lot of optimism around that team maybe for the future. But man, it just has to pain you to see these guys on the mound just doing what they're doing.
All right, this is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. Our football block is next. We'll talk the Buffalo Bills and the Patriots. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, today. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. Our Geico Rochester Quote of the Week, Mike, is it over? If it's over?
Even if it is, why? But that's Rex. That is Rex. He's saying that. It's like this week when they talked about he said how big of a game it is, and Belichick gave it's one of 16 games. Okay, they're very different in that way. I don't think I would be selling my team out saying it's totally done. Mathematically, it doesn't look good, but we will have not even reached the halfway point of the season, right? Or I guess we will be halfway, 8 games. No, it's not done yet, but... And you would have split with New England. So no, I don't think it's done. So I will disagree with Rex on this one.
All right, let's get to the halfway mark of the football season. This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. So, Pat G, who are you picking?
Well, based on my jacket, I think you know where I'm going on this. Now listen, there's no reason why the Bills should win this game, right? You got question marks over all the skill players that can miss time. I mean, Sammy Watkins was never going to play in this game after week 2. The Bills are going to win this game on Sunday. And there's one reason why. Rex Ryan defenses play phenomenal the week after getting embarrassed. Week 2, his defense gets embarrassed against the New York Jets, and you have a hot Arizona Cardinals team coming to Orchard Park, and he holds them to 19 points. A lot of those points, garbage time points. Then last season, the Bills get embarrassed by the New England Patriots in week 2. What do they hang? Just under 40 points on them. And they hold the Miami Dolphins to 14 points a week after that. Brady's due for a down game. I know all these stats, blah, 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 Brady, October, meh. You're also forgetting that this isn't normal October Brady. This is week 4 Brady. This is his 4th start. Rex Ryan's going to come up with something. Brady has said every time he plays Rex that the hardest defenses he plays are Rex Ryan's defense. I don't know how it's done, but I think Rex gets the best of Tom Brady in a Buffalo uniform finally. Bills win and sweep the Patriots this season.
6.5 is the line. Anyone taking issue with Pat?
I will. I don't think, even with 6.5, I think this is possibly a 2-touchdown game for the Patriots. I apologize, suit and all. I just think that Tom Brady is on that mission this year. Love it or hate it, the guy is out to prove everyone in the NFL wrong, including Rex Ryan. Yeah, it's only week 4 for him, but he might just be finding his groove.
Can I just jump in really quick? Give me 10 seconds. The mission. That for some reason Tom Brady is playing harder than he ever has because he wants to prove Goodell wrong. Like there was a part of him that he was saving that he wasn't using in winning all these Super Bowls and AFC titles and all this stuff, and then he had this little thing in the tank just to screw Roger Goodell with. It's the dumbest statement of all time.
I think he just adds a little more. It's that extra added motivation.
It's that 110%.
As we mentioned, this guy has the money. He's got the rings. He's got the wife. Now he wants to prove someone wrong. It's a different type of motivation.
Okay. First of all, if anybody should apologize, it's him for wearing that jacket. Secondly, it's not about, I don't think it's like motivation he's going to play harder. I think it's focus. I think it's focus in a game. And I agree with a lot of what Pat said, which doesn't happen very often because he doesn't really know that much about football. But I agree a lot of what you said in terms of what Rex doesn't. My only problem is, and I said this last week when I was picking the games, that New England just is different than every other team. They violate all these little rules, the ebb and flow of the NFL. And the thing Brady will do is he looks for that thing that just, it bugs him. Maybe it wouldn't bug anybody else. Like they got shut out by the Bills. He didn't play in the game, right? Brady is sitting there like that's a personal affront to him. And this is how they avoid letdowns. And the problem I have with that, I think Rex's defense can do things against the Patriots. My worry is they can run it too with Blunt. And they can throw it, and they have Gronk back. I think it's going to make it tough. But I think the way the line is moving and all, it seems like that easy call, Patriots blowout. I think the Patriots will win the game, but I'm starting to get the feeling that the Bills find a way to stay in this one because no one is expecting it this week, and that's why I'm going to go the opposite way. The Patriots win it, but in a relatively close game. I think the Bills will cover.
That group of receivers and the fact that McCoy's condition, I can't see him staying within the 6.5 points. Secondary game pick.
I'm going to ride my Brownies, 4 points against the Jets. I believe it's 4.5. Browns are going to win straight out. Ryan Fitzpatrick does not repeat the wonderful game that he had last week.
And this, for the record, is what, 5 times now you pick Cleveland?
I mean, the line is usually so big. I'm not even going based on line. I'm going on my hatred of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
All right, good reasons. What do you got, Steve?
I like Oakland and the Bucks. I like Oakland in that game. That's going to be a tight game. Derek Carr, Jameis Winston. I like that quarterback matchup. I like Oakland this year.
You're getting points in that one, too, and Mike?
It's a weird game because it's in London. Redskins and the Bengals. Redskins are getting, if I saw it the last time, it was around 6 points or so. Those games in Washington are odd games, or in Washington, in London are odd games. Something screwy always happens. I think the Redskins hang in there and maybe win the game outright, so I'll take them with the points.
I like Kansas City. I think they're beginning to look like the best team in the west of the AFC. They're giving a couple of points at Indianapolis, so I'll take them. Here's a look at the standings for our NFL Picks Contest, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. A hot streak is Mike Catalana now tied with me at the top. The winner of this contest will have a donation made in his name to Hunter's Hope. This week, Gregory Connors selecting on behalf of the Connors and Ferris team, who are now 5-9. Gregory likes the Bills to upset the Patriots and the Vikings to take down the Bears. This portion of the Rochester Press Box, brought to you by Connors and Ferris, Like It or Not, is next. The Press Box Trivia Question, brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. Save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. Here's a look at the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. You save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, Brian Kelly gets a vote of confidence at Notre Dame.
I don't understand it. I mean, first of all, I like watching the Irish. 2 Aquinas guys, no big deal on the Irish roster right now. But Brian Kelly has not been very successful at Notre Dame. For all of the high rankings in that championship game, what is he? Has he lost 4 games in like 5 of the 7 seasons that he's been there? On top of that, he threw his players completely under the bus a couple of weeks ago. 18 to 22 year old. Wait, but what are you doing, man? Like, how are you going to recruit players? Forget the fact that it just makes you look like a giant jerk. How are you recruiting kids going into their living rooms after saying, oh, what I'm doing here, it's obviously my fault what's happening. I'm going to blame the kids that I went out and got and handpicked and let other kids walk away so I could have this roster. You want to be upset about not being able to recruit some players because of the grades and the Notre Dame standard and things like that? That's fine. You can't say that publicly. It is your fault. I thought he was going to lose his job before the end of the season. I don't know what Notre Dame is doing.
I think it was Chuck Hinkle was in this panel a couple of weeks ago, said that Notre Dame football has become irrelevant. I mean, is it that bad?
I think it's bad right now. Again, not being in a conference, but the whining by Kelly is over the top. Because I look at their roster based on the recruiting, and you see what you have, and you tell me if you threw a Saban or you threw, one of the top coaches, whoever you want to pick, Harbaugh, throw him in there coaching that team. One, I don't think Saban has a way of getting on his team without making it personal. I think he makes it about the team. I think Kelly came across whiny, and then he dumped one of his coaches too. He put the blame on everybody but himself, and I think that really hurts them.
Steve, like it or not, the NFL's handling of the Josh Brown situation.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. They know the incident happens. They offer the guy a 2-year contract anyways, and then they go about trying to just cover it and sweep it under the rug. I think they handled it terribly. I think in today's day and age where we know all about the domestic violence stuff, it's become the forefront of the conversation. The way they handled it and trying to just sweep it along and put him on the commissioner's list and do all this stuff after they gave him a contract offer and signed him, I hate it.
Well, that's the Giants. I think the Giants were at fault more than anybody. When you read John Mara's comments about, we interviewed him when he signed him, and he told us about this. Look, at some point, let's start punishing the owners if you want to go down this road, and them having knowledge of this and the league. And I still don't understand the NFL. Why not hit him with the 6-game suspension right away? Just hit him with that. If he wants to fight it and then it goes through the process, it's one thing. But you can't send this message or put this message out there and then turn around and say, we didn't have enough facts.
I mean, the only issue would be, without a conviction, if you're going to throw if you're going to throw someone on a list before anything is even proven, it's a slippery slope. I agree the NFL screwed up royally in the way they handled this thing. But I don't like this automatic suspension based on an allegation from somebody. That's where things get messy. That's where guys ruin their careers. That's where things get silly. Now, granted, it hasn't really happened, right? Nobody's had their career ruined by a false accusation. But all it takes is one to completely destroy all of the headway the NFL has made in getting rid of domestic violence.
So suspend him. So give the 6-game suspension, then let him appeal it, and then at least if you're the NFL, you've put it out there first, and then you've had to back off. You could say based on further evidence and whatever.
And the biggest problem is being consistent, which
Yeah.
is near impossible task.
But I'm telling you, the Giants are a huge part of the blame, and it starts right at the top, and I'm surprised by that organization.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Press Box Stat of the Week brought to you by Fiondoc and Fiondoc. Remember, if you've made the wrong choice, it's time to make the right choice. Fiondoc and Fiondoc, New York's DWI leader for over 35 years. Visit Cozy up this fall with Dunkin' Donuts coffee and espresso flavors. Sip salty and sweet with our new salted caramel macchiato. Or drink in the season with the classic taste of pumpkin. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. It's Unfinished Business by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
It was last week that sitting in the chair right here, Kevin O'Clubjee was hanging out, and we were talking a bunch of hockey. I'm a big fan of Kevin O'Clubjee. You probably are too if you read the Immigrant Chronicle. Kevin O'Clubjee was laid off this week. He doesn't have a job anymore, covering both the Red Wings and the Amerks beat. I was born in 1986, a year after Kevin O'Clubjee started covering the Rochester Americans, and I grew up a giant hockey fan because as a kid and a teenager and a grown man, I would read all about the Amerks through the eyes of Kevin O'Clubjee, who was brilliant at what he did. Print media, sports media in particular, complain that the reason that they're dying is there are guys online with no connection to teams, only going on emotion, ranting and raving and taking people away from them for free. So the answer to that, with our local paper, was to fire a man who had an encyclopedia of knowledge in his head, relationships with players and coaches, and years of experience telling the stories the way he did. That guy doesn't have a job, and it's a crying shame. First of all, it's terrifying for someone like me, where if Kevin can lose his job in media, in this business, anybody can. But what I don't understand is when you're up against uninformed, loud, obnoxious people like myself that are taking folks away from your paper, why do you fire the smartest, most interesting guy that worked there? It's a crime that Kevin lost his job this week.
Absolutely. We want to know that Kevin will continue to make regular appearances on this show.
Oh, I don't like him personally. I talked reading him. I meant reading him.
Hey, I tweeted everybody in the media needs to pay him a fee for doing our prep work for us. Because
Plenty of times.
Everybody knows you learned a lot about those teams from Kevin O'Clubjee.
The history really is what you learn from Kevin, because he just had that encyclopedia. You knew, all right, he's going to bring a guy back from 15, 20 years ago that I never saw skate in an Amerks uniform, but he remembers vividly. This past week, the Buffalo Bills played the Miami Dolphins, and a particular hit I want to touch on, we all know, the Jarvis Landry hit on Aaron Williams. It's ugly. It's despicable. I hate that type of play in the NFL. It's happened before in the NHL, but the NHL has a little thing called fighting. I'm not saying the NFL needs to get involved in fighting, but it's that area where players can self-police the game. I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not sure what the resolution should be, but I don't like the hit on Aaron Williams. It may cost his career. It certainly cost him that game.
Self-policing does not work.
It used to happen in the NFL more than it does now, but the problem would be you'd get tossed out too, and then it causes a bunch of other issues. But I just think I'm with Stephen here. That was an attempt to injure a player, and I think players should have more respect than other players.
Yeah.
I'll hear guys say, there's just not enough good quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's the problem in the league. What I want to tell you is you're right, but guess what? It has always been this way. It makes me laugh all the time. There are fans and some media people who think years ago every quarterback was great. So I started to look back through the years at guys who've started games, and this isn't that far ago, 2003. These are guys who started more than 9 games in a year. David Carr, Jeff Blake, Tommy Maddox, Kyle Bowler. Go back to 93, Craig Erickson, David Klingler, Stan Humphries, Bubby Brister, John Freese. 83, Cliff Stout, Mike Pagel, Gary Ellis, Jack Thompson. You get the idea. The league has always been this way. 10 exceptional to great quarterbacks, 10 pretty mediocre guys who teams like, some weeks are better than others, and 10 guys who either will be or should be replaced. Throw the other 2 in there wherever you want. Oh, and by the way, the Bills are in that spot now trying to figure out where their guy is. But I'm telling you, it's always been this way. It will probably always stay this way. The difference now is quarterback's just more important of a position in the NFL.
I don't get the math of it, though. There's 32 people at the very top of their profession.
Are there 30 real aces in Major League Baseball? If we lower the bar of what it is, you can say Tyrod Taylor's a really good football player, and he is. But the question is, once you do that, then what is Tom Brady if everybody ends up being pretty good? I think the expectations are high for a quarterback.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been a pleasure having you in.
Guys, thanks. It was awesome.
Mike?
Thanks.
Matt? Thank you for joining us. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. We'll see you from the Brew House next week. Thanks for joining us.